Oh, have you got the YouTube?
I'm going to share now.
Hi, my name's Dina, and I have two questions. How can young people in Canada get engaged in fighting climate change and make the Earth better and safer to live? And also, could you tell us how you personally contribute to the environment at home?
We live on the planet Earth. It's made of plants and dirt. We gotta make this worth. Don't make our Earth hurt.
One reason the Earth is so special is because it's beautiful. Vegetables is healthy and saves money. I wonder how many bell peppers we can grow. The tree gives the oxygen. They clean the air. Protect the trees. Love planting trees.
Earth is special because it has life.
And the ones that you grow, how do they taste compared to the other ones that you get?
Fresher. We reuse materials.
¿Por qué nuestro planeta es tan importante?
Porque los tocar y ya no hay otro.
Why the Earth is a special place for you?
Because it is very beautiful.
I love that. Thank you, everyone. That was a video that we put together as part of the Earth Project team, as part of Montessori Everywhere, and we'll tell you more about that later in the session. But I love just seeing all the children working towards regenerating the Earth. It's very heartwarming. So a warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining today's Connect session. My name is Simone Davis. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm part of the Montessori Everywhere team. I'm delighted to be in connection with you today. We love these sessions because Montessori Everywhere's goal is to connect our Montessori community around the globe, to challenge our practices and to celebrate what we're doing as well. And so the vision of these Connect sessions is to be in dialogue with each other based on conversations that we had last year at the Montessori Everywhere 150th birthday celebrations. And today's panel discussion that we're going to be talking about is the one on the environment. We'll be going into breakout rooms, which is where you get to be in dialogue. And it's really lovely to have like mixed age groups in those rooms where some people are working with the infants and some people are working with the teenagers, and you get to see the perspectives from many different levels. So that's really beautiful too. But before we get started, I just wanted to do a land acknowledgement as well. I'm calling in today from the Netherlands, and they have a past of perpetuating settler colonization, and I benefit from the wealth accrued by this land. I also grew up on the lands of the Camaragal people, and they were the traditional landowners and clan of the Ora tribe of Indigenous Australians who were united by a common language, strong ties of kinship, and survived as skilled hunter fisher gatherers. And I benefited from the beautiful nature and resources of that land that they occupied before us. So I want you to also have a think about, and maybe you can pop in the chat where you're calling in from and make an land acknowledgement as well there. I really also wanted to say a big thank you to those that chose to redistribute funds to join today to our organisation of choice for this year, which is the Black Montessori Education Fund. And we raised nearly $450, which is amazing, and is going to go towards helping making Montessori more accessible for everyone. And we are really excited to have a special guest with us today. I'm going to hand over to Chad Dennis from the Black Montessori Education Fund to make a very special announcement. Chad, over to you.
Thank you and good morning all, or good afternoon, or whatever part of the world y'all are in. Our quick announcement is that we're opening up funding for the Black Montessori Fund, and it's open to people of African descent who are interested in continuing education, students, and people who are trying to build schools or improve schools. So I'm gonna drop the information in the chat, and I'm glad. So again, we're gonna open up our funding round this weekend. It should be up by Monday, and I'm gonna drop my information in the chat. Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Any questions from you? Okay, yeah, well, so that would be great, Chad. If you can drop you the details in the chat, people can follow that as well, and I'll add it also to the replay for the recording for those who haven't been able to join us live. All right, so I'm going to hand over to Wendelin for a little bit of housekeeping.
Thank you so much, Simone. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm not even going to try and get my head around saying good morning or good afternoon, because when we try and do time zones in Montessori everywhere, our head hurts and we need spreadsheets. So hello and welcome. It's really lovely to see you. My role today is to support you from the technical side. And my first request, please, is to keep your microphones on mute. And this is so that we can hear Hannah when she shares her wisdom with us, her thoughts with us. And also so that we just don't have any background noise interfering with what we're sharing with you today. We are, as you probably can see on your screen, we are recording this main session. When you pop into the breakouts, we won't be recording that. So feel free to talk freely. When you come back for the reflection, we will start recording that again, but the breakouts will be unrecorded. If you have any questions, please pop them in your chat. Please have your cameras on if possible. It just makes talking with you and sharing thoughts and reflections together just easier. But we completely understand if life gets in the way and having your cameras on is tricky. Could you all change, if possible, and if you feel comfortable doing so, could you change your name on the screen? You can see you will have a little name on the screen. Could you change your name to include the age of the children you work with? And you do that by clicking on participants at the bottom of your screen and just clicking on the rename by your name. So if you could do that, that would be really helpful. That just helps us sort of get a sense of what age group of children you're working with. Finally, actually, I think we'll be quite compact. I don't think we'll have many breakout rooms, but just make a note of which breakout room you're assigned to, just in case you know, Wi-Fi drops you out or whatever, and you want to come back in, and then you can tell me, hey, Wendelin, I was in room 1 or in room 2, and I can pop you straight back in. And I think then that is it from me for now. So back to Simone.
Thank you so much, Wendelin. And I get the honor of introducing our guide for today, because in Montessori, we always have a guide, don't we, to show us the way. And if you were at our first Connect session, you'll know what a delight Hannah is. She inspired us all, and we're looking forward to a bit of inspiration today. And we're very honored that she has joined us today because she got off an aeroplane yesterday. And so thank you very much for fitting us in. Hannah has worked as a Montessori educator in many different roles and places, from helping turn a traditional kindergarten for Tibetan refugees into a Montessori school in India. In Hong Kong, she opened a new early years Montessori setting, as well as giving workshops for parents and professional development seminars for other teachers. In Istanbul, in Turkey, she set up the first Montessori parent cooperative and created and led workshops for women working in low-income neighborhood creches. She's addressed a UNICEF assembly in Ankara to discuss how the Montessori method could benefit education in developing countries. In 2016, her first book, Following the Child, was published in Turkish. And she worked in London as the course leader of the Early Years Education Diploma course at MCI. And now she's off on a new adventure, which, yeah, we can't wait to see what happens. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Hannah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much and welcome everybody. It's really nice to be here again with you. I love these sessions. It's a great way to connect and to communicate, and it's worth being jet lagged to be here with you today. I am going to speak to slides if that's okay, because I do better when I'm speaking to pictures. Just make sure. There we go, excellent. So today we're going to look at the environment, a panel that I really loved and I really enjoyed listening to last year, listening to Barbara Isaacs, my mentor, and Marvin and Unifa and Jana talk about the importance of the physical environment. And today I'm just going to really reflect on what the environment means and how the environment creates a sense of belonging for children around the world. So I want to start off with a Montessori quote. A good Montessorian always does. The adult and the child works in entirely different ways. The adult works on the environment and transforms it to suit himself with definite ends in view. The child works to become a man. By an inner force which urges him of continual activity, he acquires little by little his mature characteristics.
Hannah,
I love this.
Sorry,
yeah.
Hannah, can I interrupt you just for a moment?
Yes.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, that is very interesting.
Try again.
Can
There we
you
go.
see it now?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool, good. This comes from a book that I really recommend. Maria Montessori Speaks to Parents. It has some lovely little anecdotes and quotes. But I love this quote because it really looks at the adult and the child and how we view the environment differently, right? And how the environment really is a builder of human characteristics for the child, whereas for us, we see it, how to transform it to suit ourselves, right? With the end in view. So I'm going to look at that a little bit. Great. Gwendolyn, can you see this is the new picture? Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to start off like I did in my last session with a little visualization. And so I know we're all around the world, but I'd like for you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine a place that you feel that you really belong. What is that in that environment? What makes you feel like you really belong there? What is it that is special about that environment? For me, as you can see in this picture, it's my little house on a small island in Hong Kong overlooking the ocean. But that place of belonging really happens anywhere when I'm near the sea, when I feel one with nature, where I'm connected with things. So today I want you to really think about that idea of what it means to belong somewhere and how we use belonging for for children. That's how we hope our environments will shape up to be, is that place where children feel that they belong. So when we think about that belonging, when we think about the environments, the first thing we think about is the child. And for the last session, we really focused on the child. And this is me as a 4-year-old child sitting in my grandmother's house in Scotland. But I want you to think about how we create our environments for the children, and the environments belong to the children. It's a place where children can feel secure, safe. It's an introduction to the world, and where they feel that they can explore. And Unifa explained this really beautifully in that idea of the environment really reflecting the culture and the beauty that you live in. When we think about the child, we think about that idea of that love of work, nurturing a love of work, a work that's not forced. Montessori allows freedoms, and these freedoms are so special because they allow children to enjoy and develop this love of work. And the last session, we talked about that developing that love of work in the child. But that love of work is key within our environment. Concentration is also an important part of Montessori, but it's because our environments are without a schedule, right? We allow there to be freedom for children to explore and to repeat and to do activities and to learn and to really evolve from the environment without being forced to do things, without being forced into group activities. And that concentration is key. For me, one of the most important aspects is the social aspects of life. This is the first place where children come in the early years environments. This is the first place where children come outside of the family. And we need to remember that this is key in our environments, that children are allowed to be social. They're allowed to learn from each other. It's an introduction to society and culture. And as Barbara said in the video, students, the environments, these social aspects shouldn't be tokenistic. When we're exploring culture and identities, it shouldn't be tokenistic, but it really is that introduction to society. And those social aspects are so important, letting the children converse and learn and love each other. Responsibility and respect. I think this goes well with that video because we're talking about that sustainability and that importance of sustainability, and that Earth Day video was really moving to me because that idea of that responsibility for our Earth and that respect for our Earth. But our environment should be a respectful place where children are seen as capable. For many children, this is the first place where they're given responsibilities for the first time, right? Maybe at home they don't have those same responsibilities, but that respect and responsibility is key in the environment. For me, we can talk about the beautiful physical environment, and I really love looking at beautiful environments all over the world. It's one of my guilty pleasures, but that spiritual environment is what really creates belonging with children, to consider that spiritual environment amongst children. So within that spiritual environment, that idea of purposeful work, allowing children to find something that makes them happy, not busy, but happy, and gives them skills for life. That these environments are an introduction to the world, that they include culture and inclusion. They need to be inclusive, which is more than just having in books. It's about the preparation of the adult to understand unconscious bias and allows those windows and mirrors and doors that they deserve. That care of the environment is core when we're thinking about that sustainability. How do we all fit in? How is our environment informed by nature? And Marvin gave some beautiful examples of that, how the indoors and outdoors need to be one. Grace and courtesy is showing that respect and role modeling and really loving and learning how to get along with each other. And then that last part of the environment, which is that worthy adult. The adult needs to be worthy of admiration, of trust of the child, and worthy of working with the future of humankind. So that worthiness comes with that idea of spiritual preparation. It's key in understanding and creating a spiritual environment which is welcoming and inclusive. Our preparation of the environment is not just that physical environment, but it's giving ourselves to the environment. We become one with the environment. And Barbara mentions this in the video, allowing the teacher's personality to be seen. Not all environments should be carbon copy, because not all teachers or guides are the same, right? In the same way that all the children Unifa talks about this, that idea of the beauty of the environment and nature should come from that culture, and that preparation of that spiritual environment is key. Are you giving yourself to the environment? Is your personality seen with the environment without overpowering the environment? Are you given those little personal touches which allow the child, is a gift to the child? Really listening to the child, taking the time to listen. And listen doesn't often mean just with words. As we know, with the 1,000 languages of children in Reggio Emilia, listening, children communicate in different ways. But are we really taking that time as guides to listen to the child? We know the beauty of observation. I believe it's our Montessori superpower to support the curiosity of the children of today by observing their interests and what they enjoy and love. We also need to advocate for the rights of the child, right? We are advocates, our actions and the environment should not harm, but protect the rights of the child, for that's the core of what we do. and the importance of building relationships. Children aren't science experiments. We're not supposed to sit there and just observe and really, kind of take our way out in that scientific method that we're taught how to do, right? Kind of remove ourselves from the environment. As guides, we need to build those communications. We need to see that each child is unique and wonderful, and we need to take the time to really connect with the children, with every child in some way. Connections are what makes us human. And as we are here in the Montessori Everywhere connecting together as Montessorians, connections really help us establish belonging and that sense of belonging. Great. So here are questions for the breakout sessions, and the breakout sessions are really a place where we can explore and look at some of these ideas about the environment and how we understand them. Just like last time, I would like to pose a question or a challenge that might be a little bit controversial, but my idea is that in our Montessori environments, the only thing that should look the same in Montessori schools around the world, no matter where you are, is the sensorial area and the numeracy area. Because those are universal. Those senses, that exploration of the senses are universal. And numeracy is that universal language that we have, that we share with everyone in the world. Every other area in the environment should really reflect the culture and the children and the beauty from within. So again, that's my little challenge when you're thinking about what's important when we're thinking about beauty and what we understand by it. And what are some key things to consider when preparing the environments, so inside and outside, and even virtually. I look forward to popping into some of your breakout sessions, and then we'll have a summary at the end. Thank you. Great, Wendelin will be setting us in breakout sessions.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I wasn't sure whether Simone wanted to say something now or whether I will immediately explain to you how we move on to the breakouts. Simone, is there anything you want to say before?
No, I think we're ready to go into the breakout.
Fantastic. So Hannah, thank you so much. And Simone's popped the questions again into the chat. You guys are really lucky. It's quite a small group of us today, and we have lots of really experienced facilitators for you. So what I have done while Hannah has been sharing her reflection with you is I've created just 3 breakout groups, and there will be 4 lovely facilitators in each group to help you reflect on these questions, challenges that Hannah has set for you. Just for the facilitators, just a note, as we discussed before, we will still have the facilitator who we agreed would feedback. So Trisha, you will still feedback from group 1, Castle, you will feedback from group 2, and Laurie, you will feedback from group 3, okay? So for the rest of you, for lovely participants, you will now get an invitation on your screen to join the breakout. Just accept that and then join the breakout and enjoy the discussion. And once the time is up, you'll just automatically come back to this main room. There'll be some time for reflection before we hear from our facilitators. Okay, enjoy your discussions.
Well, I don't know about you all, but 40 minutes seemed to go so fast. And we still got cut off in mid-conversation, like we're just warming up. But I don't know, we had a very rich conversation in our room, and I hope that you all did as well. And I'm just now going to call on group one. Trisha, would you like to feedback some of the things that you discussed in your room?
Yeah, can you all hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to share my screen because it's just always really helpful for me when I am taking notes for a group to be able to have it somewhere so that we can share, share thoughts later on, because we can't always capture them or it takes us longer to reflect on them. So I used a Jamboard and we invited our whole group. But I think one of them, a great question that I thought Hannah asked was, is nature a universal characteristic in Montessori classrooms? And then that also got us thinking about lots of things. Donna shared at a school that she taught it in California about how they had children, how children were able to understand just the cosmic task, the cosmic interdependence of everything with raising eggs and then allowing children to boil the eggs, and then what was the connection back to putting the eggshells back into the corn plant, but also the question that Tammy brought up about the settler coloniality of what shows up in our classrooms as the same, and then just encouraging us as the presenter. I think her name is Hannah too this morning, talked about really the only things that should be the same are the sensorial and numeracy areas, but also like the differences should be coming from culture. So a larger conversation, I think, that Prudence brought up about nature. Someone else talked about nature showing us the way and how children follow the natural laws of nature, and so then they guide us same. But also in terms of numeracy too, that we also have to, and this is me talking, what we have to remember about numeracy is not everybody practices numeracy in concepts of 10. There are very many indigenous cultures around the world that practice numeracy in according to 4, which matches direction, which matches seasons. So I think we also have to be careful not to assume what nature is. Somebody brought up the idea of nature according to who? According to whose definition? I think I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but from Canada, about when you were reading about the assumption that nature has this idea of wilderness in it, and that there's this assumption that nobody lived there before, when we absolutely know that all areas in the world have been inhabited by somebody. So those are some of the ideas. I'm going to put group 1 on here, and we'll share our Jamboard with you all in the chat.
What a great idea, Jamboard. Let's do that. Really, really useful. So now Castle in room 2.
Yeah, so we had a conversation. We started really focused on consistency, and for the students, and then we really got into kind of a conversation about the stress and anxiety that everyone has been feeling over the last year, both because of the pandemic, but other external events going on and that look different in each country, and the importance of the sense of security that for the children and the adults that comes from the consistency of the Montessori environment, and this sense of security that gives the children their sense of self, so they can really build their spiritual self. When we talked about the idea of the collective trauma we've all experienced and continue to experience, and talked about some of the challenges that we're seeing with the children in the environments because of that. And so that our work has to be to first speak to the children's emotional needs before we can do anything else. And then we talked about some of the specific sort of challenges of the online environment. And number one being the challenge of how to observe the children when you're in an online setting, but also what you can observe. And I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names, but we had a 9 to 12 teacher that talked about really being able to, Katrina, being able to learn about the children from what was important to them and what they had chosen to put on the walls behind them, you know, to express their own personal environment while they were doing online learning. And we had a parent in our class, in our group, Jamani, who talked so beautifully about what she's learning from her child as a mother doing Montessori at home and learning to slow down. And really, this was our sort of transition to beauty, learning from her daughter to stop and just really admire beauty and the detail of beauty. And that personal message to her from her daughter to slow down and appreciate the beauty around her. And then we talked about like designing environments for children to allow the possibility for the children to have experiences, and that the experience they needed was going to look different for different children. We also talked about the kind of need to and ability to create an environment, no matter what you find, wherever you find yourself online, having to transition in and out of being online, that we can develop the skills we need to create the environment the children need, no matter how much inconsistency the children are experiencing due to factors outside of our control. And then we really talked about the idea of inner beauty, and how, so it's not just the external beauty of our physical environments, but the internal beauty that everyone is developing and bringing into it, and that having a safe base of that consistency is what allowed that internal beauty to develop. And then we really got into a conversation around culture and the importance of bringing the culture of the children, of the families, of the adults in the environment in, and how that was a part of the beauty, and to developing the children's self-esteem and their self-consciousness and identity by being very appreciative and honoring each child's individual culture. And then we had this beautiful ending of like sort of connecting this all by sort of finding that within beauty is our purpose. And that all the things we're kind of looking for in Montessori we can find. So purpose, order, culture, thoughtfulness, demonstrating our values through the beauty of our environments. And so we kind of ended on like that note of how beauty really encompasses, using inner and external beauty really encompasses all that we're trying to do in Montessori.
Thank you. I love that inner beauty came up. That's such a powerful thing to discuss. I wanted to be in all the rooms now. So now Laurie in room 3.
Yeah, we had a real nice engaging conversation. We spent a lot of time on consistency as well, and actually kind of looked at it through a different avenue of what does it look like when we don't have consistency, and that feeling of being unsettled even as adults when there's not consistency, and how time consuming lack of consistency is, because there's so many other things you have to then figure out instead of getting to the core of the work. So really needing that consistency to provide the sense of confidence in a child. It provides, we discovered, independence. And with consistency and then exploring order as well. Does order come before consistency, or does consistency provide order? And how does consistency play on internal order and external order? And again, looking at that interconnectedness of all of our kind of core Montessori values came through this discussion of consistency. And so we decided that with consistency, children will have confidence, they will have more independence, they will have more time to connect to meaningful work and feel safe in exploring that work because it's predictable. The question came up of how do we help children or older children who have not discovered consistency during the absorbent mind stage, and how do we help them internalize this peace of mind that consistency brings as they are older. So that was our visit on consistency, and then we moved to some of the key things to consider when preparing the environment. A lovely discussion on really acknowledging what sort of environment children need. We work with these large spaces, but the reality is children like small spaces. They like to be, cloistered together. They like to be unobserved. And while we know that might not be so safe, we need to find ways to create the feeling that they are by themselves and unobserved. Part of the certainly being the adult, knowing that we need self-care. We need to bring the best of ourselves to the environment, and that by nurturing that and taking care of ourselves, we actually then are open to more possibilities in the environment. When we're not having to deal with our stuff, we're there, present and available to the children. And then lastly, we kind of circled around, and we, as Simone said, we didn't have enough time, that in order to prepare the environment, we must observe, and we must be responsive to the needs of the children in our presence at any given time. That we often come with preconceived ideas about an environment. Oh, this worked well last year, and I can do it again this year. And we really need to always remember that our work is informed by observation of children, and that decisions we make must be informed by what we observe in the child. And so being humbled to that and knowing that we can think we've prepared the best of the environments, but if we are not responsive, and I love that word responsive, if we are not responsive to how the children are interacting within that environment, we are not serving children.
Thank you everyone. We started with Hannah, and when we closed our eyes and just did that, visualization of where we feel safe and belonging, that will definitely stay with me. And I'm going to hand over to Hannah now for her closing comments.
Thank you. I think Bouncing through all of these beautiful breakout rooms, I really felt a sense of belonging again. And it made me feel that we can create a sense of belonging even virtually, even when we're all over the world. So I'm really appreciative and just humbled that I was able to be here with all of you today. In conclusion, to kind of summarize some of the beautiful statements that I heard in your groups, that idea of children making the environment their own. Often we create an environment, but children will rearrange it and make it their own. And we need to make sure that we give them the space to do so. Our experiences of beauty is transformational. I love that, right? Beauty is transformation. And so in that transformation, we need to make sure our environments are co-created. We are creating it with the child, for the child. It's not that top down, it's really listening to the children's needs there. How consistency equals security for children, and especially during these times of uncertainty in the world. There was some beautiful sharing about, not beyond the pandemic, but about what's happening in the US in terms of, you know, racial tensions and the horrible things that are happening externally, how that affects our environments, our internal classrooms. And we need to create that security for children, but also need to make sure that they're able to feel settled, but also that we acknowledge what's happening within the external environment. The external world affects our environments. And another group said that idea of we need to be honest that we don't know everything as guides. I love that idea of honest and humility. And we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to have all of the answers in creating that environment. And sometimes it will go horribly wrong. And that's where those big lessons come from, right? Thinking about how prepared you are as an adult and the well-being of the adults in the environment. The adult mindset really affects the children. We need to take care of ourselves. And who we are brings a sense of love and wonder. And again, that idea of collaboration and creating an authentic environment. And Rahina talked about the adolescent environment quickly, which was beautiful. And that idea of the adolescent environment needs to really be authentic to the world around them. And I think that is so beautiful. We're setting up that child, within all of the years, the planes of development, we're setting up that idea of authenticity, of creating that environment for the children. Lovely conversations. Again, I want to end with a quote. Hopefully my screen will show. Can everyone see that screen? Good, okay. Again, no?
No, we had it. And then when you went to full screen, we lost it.
Okay.
Let's try again.
There we go. Yes? Okay, cool.
Again,
this comes from Maria Montessori Speaks to Parents, the idea of nurturing the human spirit. What if this child knows nothing of the end he will achieve? If he is allowed to use his spontaneous activity in a tranquil environment without interference or unasked for help, he is indeed engaged in the most important work. He is building the person he will one day be. Our environment is more than just academic learning. It is the growth and development of the future of humanity. And the importance is awakening the spirits and allowing the child to reach their full potential. And this can only happen when we create environments where children really belong, where they feel a sense of belonging, and that spiritual environment is key in creating that environment. And so I want to thank you again for letting me be here with all of you. And I really want to remind you that idea of nurturing that human spirit. That is what we do. We are not teaching, we are nurturing. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. I definitely don't think you're alone. When I thought of belonging, I actually thought of this beautiful Montessori community. So one of the good things to come out of the pandemic is being in all these Zoom rooms with all of you all. Okay, so now I get to hand over to Barbara Isaacs, who's part of the Earth Project team in Montessori Everywhere. And Barbara, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay, so can you tell us about the Earth Project?
Thank you very much. I would like to invite you to join us in the Earth project, which we plan to start in September, because we believe passionately that it is important to cultivate discussions which inspire our creative responses and also relationship, which will help children to understand nature and our planet. As Samina has reminded us, it is our task to help children understand the time in which they live. And there is no better time than today to look at what the planet has to offer us, come to understand it, and learn to protect it. We have chosen the theme of food for our environment project because we believe it will engage all the planes of development. We can start doing a project with our toddlers. We can show the 3-year-olds how to recycle, how to plant, how to savor the flavor of the food that we can enjoy, and also how to share it with others. Food is the staple of our life. It has made communities. It has helped us to develop language in the indigenous communities that gathered around the food which was produced on fire. All these elements are really important to share with our children. And of course, they will give them advocacy and also agency. So please, please be inspired and come and join us in September. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're very, very excited about the Earth Project. It's going to be from September to November. Sign up. You don't have to be a school. It can be families. Everyone is welcome and it's free to join. And so it's going to be amazing to connect Montessori children all around the world are working on regenerating the Earth, because it's not just recycle, reduce, reuse, but that's how we can feed the Earth. So we're very, very excited. I wanted to thank Hannah again for being our guide, to Wendelin for being our tech, for our wonderful facilitators, the conversations in those rooms today. You were all active, like we are getting there. We're not leaving the cameras off and not saying anything. We are all taking part in this dialogue, which is what this space is for. We are going to be back here every month, so please come join us. Next one will be an open spaces where you get to decide the topic. So we'll definitely email you about that. Also very exciting, on the 1st of May, we're going to be releasing our first long form conversation, which is part of our Montessori Voices project, so we'll just keep sharing stories and connecting our Montessori community. Anything else? Thank you to you for being here, because without you, Montessori's nowhere. It's Montessori everywhere. And I love that we're all on different parts of our Montessori journey. Thank you again to those who redistributed funds for the Black Montessori Education Fund, and really excited that, you know, another $450 will go towards their beautiful work. I spoke too quickly. I'm 2 minutes early, so.
Right, I'd like to say something. Also, a really, really, really big thank you to Simone Davies, who will now hate me for saying this, but a huge thank you, because she keeps us going, and her energy and enthusiasm and love, this is why we're here. So big, big thank you to Simone. And I'll buy you appeltaart when I'm next in Holland to make up for this, but thank you.
All right. Okay, everyone, go back to your lovely Sundays. And also there's another session again at 10 o'clock Europe time, which is 4 o'clock in the afternoon ET. And it's going to be a different conversation every time. So you're welcome to join us then as well. Okay. You're welcome. Yes.
Simone, this is Trisha. Can I just share a flyer real quick about a fundraiser we're having for our school? It's our children we had a series of coffee chats. And our children we're a nonprofit. We still have to raise money for our school, and they're having a comedy night, and you can find the information on our website, kclcmontessori.org, and it's on May 13 at 6 p.m. And if you're able to join, we appreciate the support. Thank you.
That sounds so fun. I want to stay up all night so I get to come to that. Thank you everyone for being here. Enjoy your Sunday, and you're welcome to unmute to say goodbye. And the facilitators, if you want to hang around, we'll just do a closure as well. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank
everyone.
you.
Everybody, thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you all. Bye. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.